Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to the show. Let's go over a few of the problems in the world right now. And all of these problems are going to create lack of confidence in the US dollar and in the other fiat currencies. And this is going to be what really drives cryptocurrency at a certain point. They cannot keep expanding the world's monetary supply to fix all these problems unless they actually destroy the currencies. Other than that, let the problems go and they'll grow into enormous, well, the whole system will go down, and they can't let that happen. They have to keep propping the system up. They have to keep expanding these bubbles. They can't let them pop. It'd be devastating if they let them pop. They can't. They have to keep expanding them. And as they expand them, cryptocurrency is going to do better and better. So let's get into it. Let's take a look at these problems. Let's start the charts right here and take a look at some of the stuff that's going on. Corporate debt in the United States. Ford Motor Company. They're worried. It's being downgraded. It's a fallen angel. That's what they call them when they and it's the fifth largest fallen angel in history, but it's coming at a time, when the corporate bonds and corporate debt market is over-leveraged, completely overextended. It says Moody's decision to downgrade Ford's debt to junk rating sent alarm bells ringing through the investors who have been jittery over the prospect of over-leveraged U.S. corporations losing their highly coveted investment-grade ratings. See, as these ratings go down, there's an awful lot of managers, money managers out there, who can only keep these in their portfolio. These corporate debt, they can only keep it in their portfolio if it's got a high rating. When the rating falls, they have to dump it, and if they dump it on the market, too many of them dump this debt on the market too fast. Well, there's not enough buyers. And if there's not enough buyers, what happens is the price has to find a bottom. What that basically means is, right now the price is way up here, way up high. The price will just fall until it finds buyers. And right now, the floor is so far down there where you can't see the floor, how low they might fall. And this create a sudden shock within the economic system. So this is one of the problems I'm watching, is the corporate debt problem, which is huge. It's so big. It's like trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. All these money managers, they've pushed this for years. They've pushed this. You go in there, and if you got a little bit extra money put away, the bank will say, why don't you talk to our investment advisor or whatever? And you sit down, you talk with them, and they say, oh yeah, I got just a thing for you. Just what you'd be interested in. You can get high yields. High yield, that's what we want. High yield. That sounds great. What they're not telling them is, that's junk. They don't call it junk. They call it high yield. Oh, the high yield sounds good. So, let's move on. We got a lot to cover here. Fracking. We all know about frackers. They've been fracking oil all through the different oil basins in the United States. We have one of the biggest oil basins in the world called the Permian Oil Basin. They've been fracking all through there, digging holes into the ground, fracking oil up out of the holes in the ground. Fracking is the method they use to get oil now. Basically what it amounts to is, in the old days they used to put a pipe down, the oil would come out in a gusher. Well, that was because it was under pressure down there and there's big pools of oil. They sucked all that out. And then they got a big dry hole down underneath the ground there, but there's oil clinging to the rocks and in between the crevices and stuff that is left over. Basically what fracking does is it goes in there and cleans up those leftovers and allows them to get the very last drops out of the well. And that's what they're doing. But they're putting these fracking wells in everywhere, so it amounts to a lot of oil, but it's not going to last very long. Because it's basically, it's like when you go to a Chinese restaurant and they give you a bowl full of Chinese soup and you eat most of it all, and there's just a little bit laying in the bottom. That's all that's left, and that's what they're after with the fracking. They're just getting that little bit, the scrapings. But it's enough that it's made the U.S. into a major oil producer now. But they got to keep putting in more and more and more and more and more of these fracking wells. So now they've come up with a new low-cost fracking method. The problem is it costs a lot to convert over to this new method. It says that this new particular method is called electric fracking, and it's powered by natural gas. And they don't use the more costly diesel fuel. But it's going to cost a lot to switch over to this new technology. And these firms, it looks like at these low oil prices, they haven't got the money to invest in that. So when these wells start going offline, a lot of them are going to start going offline. We're going to see oil production fall in the United States at some particular point in time. Now let's move on. Trade war in China. The slowdown gets even more worrying. So the slowdown in China, caused by what's going on in the world situation right now, is a massive slowdown in China. And this is more worrying than the trade war. U.S.-China trade war has taken a toll on the Chinese economy. The PPI, Producer Price Index, fell to its lowest level in 3 years. Chinese car sales are also falling. Chinese exports to the United States are falling sharply. Sharply. Not just, they're really falling. And so China's undergoing a massive slowdown right now. The numbers haven't come in yet. But this is, when the numbers do come in, how bad this is, it's going to be a shock to the United States economy. And a bigger shock than what we saw in the last few months with the volatility in the markets. Now let's take a look at this. Italy. Italy is begging Brussels for more time on this debt. And there's a picture of them all, the cronies, all shoulder to shoulder and everything else, because these are the guys who've been getting rich on the backs of everybody else in the world, Italian Prime Minister has called on Brussels to allow Rome, that's Italy, a little bit more time to cut its debt by investing in economic growth. So Italy really believes, does either side, does the European Union side or Italy actually believe this garbage? That what they're telling them is, we're going to cut our debt by investing in economic growth. Italy's in a hole, and there's no getting out of that hole. That hole is 12 feet deep. Unless a rope is lowered, there's no way they're going to get out of that hole. And here they're just saying, okay, we're going to get out of the hole by investing in economic growth. What economic growth? I don't see any. Italy is just on a slippery slope down, but they're painting it with a pretty brush. They're making it look good, They got to make this look good with these rosy words. They're going to stimulate economic growth and all this kind of stuff. This is going to keep going, this situation in Italy, until it can't go anymore. That's basically the way it's going to go. And then it's all going to crash. And it's going to be another big problem to the economic system. Now let's take a look at... there's a leaked resolution that reveals that the European Union is preparing to grant the United Kingdom another Brexit extension. Well, you know all that's going to do? They're going to extend it out till January next year. They're just putting the problem off a little bit longer, but the uncertainty remains. And that uncertainty, what's it doing to the British economy? Well, let's take a look here. On this article right here. It says, now this is in charts, they put charts up here, to show how that uncertainty over the Brexit could be pushing the United Kingdom toward a recession. Absolutely. If they keep this going until January, which is probably what's going to happen now that I hear that the European Union will grant them an extension, probably keep this uncertainty going right up till January, right? And then everything, what happens then? Then they're going to grant them yet another extension? There's going to be there's 50% of the population Actually, it's more than 50% of the population because they've already done a vote on this, who want to leave the European Union, and they voted for it. Now, what are those people going to think? With extension after extension after extension after extension, they start to get upset in the end. Like, when are we going to get what we voted for? Where is democracy? They start to get feeling that way. That's just human nature. And they just keep extending this. While they're extending it off into the future, Britain, the United Kingdom, is heading toward a massive recession, along with Germany. All signs point toward a recession in Germany. Germany's a huge economy, guys. Huge. And, you know, those two economies are kind of tied together, the United Kingdom and Germany. Germany goes into a recession, it's likely to drag the United Kingdom into a recession. If the United Kingdom goes into a recession, it's likely to drag Germany into a recession. So, and they're all linked to Italy. Look out, recession all around. Recession all around. It's going to be like, you know, when a person, never mind, recession all around. That's the way it's going to be. It's going to be a big recession. Enormous recession through. I might as well laugh as cry. You know, when you drop the bottle of milk and it lands on the floor and it shatters and the glass goes everywhere, and you might as well laugh as cry. You know? What's going on here with Deutsche Bank? Well, you know, Deutsche Bank is just stumbling along. They're staying alive. You remember that old song? Staying alive, staying alive. Ha, 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 ha. You know? I think the Bee Gees did that song years ago, you know? There it is. They're staying alive, you know? That is Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank are doggy paddling through life, you know, and just keeping their head above water. Barely. This restructuring, though, how can this improve the bank? To be honest, how can restructuring a bank by chopping it, firing tens of thousands of employees, closing branches, how can that make the bank a more viable enterprise? It's not. They're going to end up going down in the end. But, you know, they're just, again, kicking the can down the road. This is fun to look at, you know, to watch the U.S. debt explode exponentially. You know, let's get right in there and watch the numbers go up. Just look at that ticking away there, guys. $100,000 a second, you know, added to the bill. Just add it on the bill. Add it on the bill, guys. Keep it going. Kick the can down the road further and further and further. This is what all of your treasury bonds, which are supposed to be the safest asset on earth, are tied into this U.S. debt. So let me ask you, are they really the safest place to put your money? And they're not giving you any yield. I mean, the yield is almost microscopic, you know. Now, I know this is getting a little bit long, this article, you know, this talk, but I got one more thing to talk about. After 36 years, will the HKMA be forced to abandon the US dollar peg? This is huge. They're spending all of their surplus money they have gathered, their nest egg, to maintain this peg to the US dollar. They're spending it all. They spent like 80% of it like in 10 months or whatever, you know. Maybe my numbers aren't exact, you know, but they haven't got that much money left to keep this peg going. But somehow investors around the world think to themselves that they can maintain this peg forever. They'll maintain the peg and then suddenly it'll end. It'll just end. Poof. Gone. This is going to be an enormous shock to the financial system. All of these shocks, it looks like they're all lining up. I don't think we're going to get through this next year. All these shocks are going to hit. They're probably going to, one is going to trigger the next one, which is going to trigger the next one, kind of like dominoes falling. They're all going to fall at once. And I'm hoping that it's not too much to overwhelm the central banks and policymakers so that they cannot control this and it goes all completely haywire and it could actually cause, oh my goodness, buy some canned beans and some toilet paper. I mean, because honest to gosh, guys, you better have something put away for a rainy day. This could be bad. The perfect financial storm. And this is what's going to drive cryptocurrency. A panic is going to drive cryptocurrency. They're going to be driven into it from a panic position. They're not going to be able to get gold and silver. It's going to be gone so quick. And all that's going to be left that they can buy is cryptocurrency. So I see even more money pouring into the cryptocurrency space than the gold and silver space. But both of them, all of it, just going so high, nobody can afford it. Unless people that have bought it already and who are already holding it, because they're the smart ones. Listen, thank you guys for listening to this show, and we'll catch you guys again very, very soon. Bye-bye.